a new weekly reading vlog. So this week I am going to be rereading the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I will just be reading the first 3. I want something fun, so I decided that I was going to read this, and I am 276 pages into this one. And the first time I read this, I gave it 3 stars, and I will admit that I listened to the audiobook during a 24-hour readathon, so I don't remember the majority of this, and I probably would still give it 3 stars. I know that the second one is definitely like the most standout one, but this isn't bad. This is just very average, I think. I will give my opinions when I finish the series, but all I'm going to say is that I think Tamlin was who she needed when she was human and when she needed to learn what safety is, and he wasn't like her forever person. I think that he was there to kind of introduce her to fairies in a more loving and understanding way, give the fairies a little bit of humanity, and kind of be a safe haven for her. I don't think that she was meant to be there with him forever. I definitely think that he was done dirty, and I am not going to continue the series like I said, but I hope that later on he gets some redemption, because while I don't love what happens in the second book and the decisions that he makes, I can see where he's coming from. It has a lot of undealt with trauma. I'm sympathetic for him. So I am going to finish this one and then move on to the second one, but I'm also currently listening to the audiobook for When the Scot Ties a Knot. This is the third book in the Castles Ever After series, and it's about a woman who fakes a marriage and then a subsequent death of a guy so she can get out of coming out into the season. She's like writing him letters and stuff, and she's like pretending that he was her betrothed, and meanwhile he wasn't actually like a real person, and then she kills him off basically. And then like 10 years later, she is a widower, I guess, and she's kind of free to be herself. She doesn't expect to like be in society or anything like that, and she's just kind of living her life, you know, on her own piece of land and all that kind of stuff. And he shows up and he's like, yeah, I got all your letters and I'm not dead, and he blackmails her into marrying him so that he can have the land. And yeah, I have like an hour left of the audiobook, I think, and it's okay. It was gonna be a 4-star, but I feel like the ending is gonna do something that's gonna make it a 3-star, and we will talk about that once I get to the ending. But I think I like them more than I have the others in the series. I'm going to continue reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm gonna try to finish this today and then move on to the second one. It is Monday. Yay for me updating on the first day of the week. So hopefully I can get through this series this week. If you are not a fan of this series, I fully understand. If you want to skip this vlog, I'll probably be talking about other books in here, but I always do timestamps down below so you can skip if you don't want to hear about this. But yeah, I'm gonna jump back into this, and I will update at the end with my final thoughts on my reread. I did just finish When a Scot Ties the Knot, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. While the ending didn't do that thing that annoys me, I really liked the couple, even though the plot I find to be a little linear and boring. I really liked the couple, and I have no complaints. I think it's a cute book, and it would be a 3 if I didn't like them so much. Good little read, and I would recommend if you are looking for like a modern historical. They're a cute couple, and yeah, that's that. Hi friends, the ferrets are out and I have like 0 energy, so I have just been watching YouTube videos, but I almost done with Court of Thorns and Roses. I have like 100 pages left, and I started the audiobook for this right here. It's a bunch of short stories, written by a bunch of different authors, and some of them are good and some of them are like not. It's a wide variety of stories, including ghost sex. It's interesting. I have like an hour left or something of the audiobook. I think I have like 2 stories left, so it's not gonna take me that long to finish. But I also remembered that I pre-ordered the 3rd book in the From Blood and Ash series, and the 3rd one just came through my Kindle, so I probably am gonna try to read that this week. I don't know, I haven't decided. Oh, sleepy. still gonna finish Akhtar, but we'll see if I move on to the third one. I hated the second one. I have like a dedicated reading vlog to that book. If you have watched it already and you feel like watching it, I'll link it, but I hated the second one, so let's hope the third one is an improvement. That's the update. Probably gonna insert some favorite clips, but other than that, I'm probably just gonna sit here, watch some YouTube videos. I might get comfy and watch some anime later, but I have like zero energy and I don't know why. Good morning, friends. It is Thursday, and yesterday I finished 2 books. So I finished Quickies, and I didn't rate the whole thing, the whole collection, but I rated each individual story, so I'll go over that in my monthly wrap-up. But I think as a whole, I would rate this 3 stars. There were some stories that I did not like and some that I did like. And then I also finished A Court of Thorns and Roses. So the first time I read the book, I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I gave it 3 stars this time as well. I enjoyed it more than I did the first time. I think that she did a lot of character work for Feyre that I didn't see the first time. I still stand by what I said about the person that she needed as like an introduction to Fairy, the person that she needed to dip her toes in with, but not being her forever person. I think he's the one that human Feyre needed, not Fairy Feyre. I think that Tamlin went through a lot of traumatic things just like Feyre did. I will say that Sarah J. Maas in the second one, at least from what I remember, deals with it in a very quiet way. Like, she lets you form your own opinions about how Tamlin treats her. I think we can all agree that at the very least it's very controlling, and at the very most it's abusive. I can understand his need to make sure that she is safe, and the only way that he knows how to do that is to lock her away. And I'm not saying that that's right, but I get it. I think that human Feyre might have been okay with that, but because of the ways that Feyre has changed and the ways that the traumas that she went through, being locked up is not for her, doesn't make her feel safe. So I think that they just weren't right for each other after the person that Feyre becomes. And I think they weren't right for each other after the person Tamlin becomes, because he's a different person afterwards. It's hard to know the sort of relationship you're gonna have whenever you've gone through trauma. It's easy to be a relationship when it's, you know, you have everything you need and it's like the honeymoon phase and all of that. But once you start going through hard stuff that you don't know how to handle, that's kind of what sets up a relationship and sets up who you are as a person. Personally, would like to see Tamlin have a happy ending, get help first, get some therapy first, and then not feel like a monster and not feel alone and betrayed by everyone. I would like to see that. So I have to be at work pretty soon, so we will talk later about what audiobook and all that I'm gonna pick up, so bye. Hi friends, it's Thursday, still it's the afternoon, and I kind of cut out a little bit early on my last clip, but I was listening to the audiobook of Soft Limits by Brianna Hale. This is my first Brianna Hale, but I have listened to Tamika from Library of Tomes rave about her, so I wanted to pick one up, and this was the one that Anyplay had. I ended up DNFing it at about like 50%, and it wasn't for me. So it's basically about a woman named Evie who is a college student, and her relationship with Frederick, who is like this opera singer, I think, and he's pretty famous, and she is kind of commissioned by him to write his biography, and they have like a daddy little relationship. Daddy little is not like necessarily my kink. I don't mind it, but it's not getting me tingly in the downstairs, if that makes sense. I definitely think that Frederick is like the perfect like alpha dom with the gentleness. The plot was kind of slow, like the plot aside from their sexual relationship was a little bit boring, so I ended up DNFing. But if you have read this book and you liked it, let me know and I might continue. Like I said, I got about 50% of the way through, but I'm not opposed to listening to the rest of the audiobook if it picks up. I got to the part where they're like going their separate ways after like their 5 days in France or whatever. So let me know if you guys think that I should pick it up again, if it's something that I will end up liking, or leave me some Brianna Hale recommendations down in the comments, because I would like to read some Brianna Hale. How many times am I gonna say her name? I'm still reading A Court of Mist and Fury. I actually haven't started it yet, but I'm still reading that, and I need an audiobook to listen to. I'm thinking something historical. I wish I could pull up Anyplay. If anyone that uses Anyplay has figured out how to use it on the desktop, let me know, because anytime I try to log in with my Google account, it just like tells me that I can't do it. I think I'm going to start a historical. I already did my TBR for next month, so I know what ones to avoid, because there are, you know, those are the ones that I picked. But I might do my spinner wheel and figure out what audiobook to listen to. If I do that, I'll insert it and we'll figure out which one to read. But in the meantime, I am going to play some Overwatch, and then I am going to and listen to an audiobook, and then we will talk later when I have picked something and when I am into A Court of Mist and Fury. It's been a little under a year since I read A Court of Mist and Fury. I'm excited to jump into it, and we will talk a little bit later on. Hi, okay, sorry for the terrible angle and the lighting and just everything that's going on in this clip, but I wanted to talk about the book that I just finished, which was Voyeur. This is a student-teacher romance between a woman who works at a voyeur club. Basically, like, the sex workers work for the club and then people can watch, like they can't touch them or anything, but he ends up paying to see her do stuff, and then he ends up being her teacher. And the first like 40%, so hot, like steaming hot. I thought it was gonna be 4 stars, like so good. And then once they actually got together, it was trash. He started to like not like that she was doing sex work, even though that's like how he met her, which is annoying. And it just became so repetitive of them breaking up and making up and then breaking up all over. And it dropped it down to a 2. So I ended up giving it 2. before we talk about this, I read One No More Room at the Inn, or something like that, this, which is a 50-page novella, sapphic, dom sub. Super steamy. I didn't rate it, but it's hot. And there is Humiliation, which is not necessarily my thing, but yeah, if you are looking for like a quick, sexy, sapphic thing, then I would recommend this. It's on KU, and like I said, I didn't rate it, but it was a quick little read. I am 100 pages into this, like exactly 100 pages, and Tamlin is so fucking annoying. Like, I'm just ready to get to the point where she's no longer with them, because it just, on this reread, I think is even more obvious how bad and how toxic he is. And I don't necessarily think like he's a villain or anything like that, but he definitely like is just not for her. He's too controlling, and he isn't really for anybody, to be honest. He doesn't care about what she wants. He is only concerned about how he thinks he can keep her safe, and what he says goes. And even Lucian does not like the way that things are being handled, but he's so loyal to Tamlin that he doesn't step in and say anything, which is a little annoying to me, to be honest. I get that he's your king or your high lord, but if you see something that's going on that you don't feel is right, you should be serving a high lord that is good enough, or is a good enough person, or fae or whatever, that you can say like, hey, this is not right. Like, we get where you're coming from, we get that you just want to keep her safe and you're scared, but what you're doing is not right. And I'm just ready for this to be over. Like, there are so many scenes where it just irritates me that he doesn't give her any sense of agency. He doesn't give her any. She steps up for herself and says like, I'm strong, like I can do this, I want to lead, I want to be by your side, and I want to make decisions, I want to help, I want to do all of these things. And he just doesn't care about what she wants, and he thinks that his way is the best way, and it's incredibly annoying, and I'm really tired of reading it. I am at the part where they just had the tithe, which is a problem in and of itself. And I don't get Tamlin's like need to keep everything the way that it has been, because he even says that he didn't like his father or his brothers, like he didn't like the way that his father ruled. So I don't get why he doesn't want to change the way that things are. And it's a problem. Like, I don't like it. But aside from that, the tithe just happened, and I feel like saying Farrah got in trouble because it's as if he's her dad and she has to apologize for every little thing that she does. Even if it's something that she believes in, she has to apologize if it doesn't match up with it exactly he wants her to do. She basically told him like, I can't live this way. Like, you cannot keep me locked up here. It feels like I'm drowning. And he basically can't control his anger, which is another issue in here that I have a big problem with, because it puts her in danger. And he basically destroys the entire room that she's standing in, and she easily could have gotten hurt. And that's kind of where I left off at, and it just, I'm so tired of it, and I'm ready to get to her healing and her growing past this, because I'm so tired of dealing with him and reading about him, and every interaction they have, I'm just, ugh. Something that I am noticing, even within the first 100 pages, is like, Rhysand isn't like the perfect love interest for her. Just like, he is, but that's not the only thing that goes into this. The whole life, his court, his friends, like even the court itself is perfect for her, because she has troubles being in the summer court, in the castle. Like, there are rooms that she can't even go into, and she wakes up in the middle of the night feeling like the walls are closing in on her. And in the night court, she doesn't have that because the walls are open, and like literally every single thing is like the antithesis of each other, and the night court is just perfection for her as a person in every way. And it just, I never noticed that the first time. There are people that have like complaints about Rhysand, and one of them is like the leg thing in the first one, but he never treats her like she's anything other than an equal. And there's a scene in the first one where she's talking to Tamlin about how she can't read or write, and he calls it a shortcoming. And so even at the very end, that sticks in her head that is a shortcoming in her personality, and that she could have gotten killed because of that. And so she keeps that in the back of her head. And then we have that scene where Rhysand takes her away during their wedding because she's like screaming to get away, and he teaches her to read and write, but he never makes her feel like she's dumb. He basically is just like, this is something that you gotta learn. Like, it's kind of like training, basically. Not everyone, you're not dumb if you don't know how to spar, but it's just something that you have to learn. So he's like teaching her all of that. And another thing that I'm super noticing is that he knows that she is very like disconnected. She doesn't feel happiness. She makes a comment about how she doesn't remember the last time she's even laughed, and she's just very disconnected. But he knows the only way that he can get an emotional reaction from her is to anger her and poke at her and prod her and be a jerk and get that like anger and the condescension from her. And he knows that that's kind of like the way to get her back to the person that she was, or get her back to a place where she is a person, she can recognize herself, I guess. So it just, I guess because I'm looking at it in hindsight, there's a, like, I already know the outcome. There's a lot that I'm noticing, and the little bits of just work that she did to build this, to get to the point where it gets to, is just brilliant. Like, I'm really glad that I'm rereading this, because I'm seeing a lot that I didn't see the first time, and it just, I'm really ready to move on. I think I'm pretty close. Like I said, I'm 100 pages in, so I know there is the one ceremony where she has, like, she basically is turning his court against him, and like, I still stand by the fact that I want him to have, you know, a happily ever after or whatever. I don't think that, one, they're not meant for each other, and two, he needs help before he can be with someone in that way. And the amount of destruction that she does to his court throughout, like, this book and the next book is just, like, I get why she does it, but I can imagine the pain of him, because not only did Amarantha take his power and basically make him a weak High Lord for his court, but then she does it again. So anyways, I'm gonna keep reading this, and I will update you guys in a little bit. I'm just ready to be done with Tamlin. Like, Hi friends, it is Sunday, which means it is time to wrap up this reading vlog. So I am 546 pages into this, and so I have about 100 and so pages left. I have gotten to the point where the queens have set up the meeting to give them the other half of the book, and I think this is gonna be a 5 stars. I think I'm gonna bump it up from my original rating of 4 stars. I flew through this. I loved it. I'm still loving it, and I'm excited to pretend that the third one is good so that I can read the third one. But yeah, I found a lot in this that I really liked, a lot that I didn't notice the first time, and that I'm really happy I reread this. So this is probably gonna be a 5 star, and yeah, that is that. So that is going to be it for this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed. Comment your thoughts down below on any of the books that I read this week. Hopefully you aren't too tired of the Court of Thorns and Roses content, and if you stayed to the end, thanks so much. But other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.